My name is Stephen Barry, and I'm the former coordinator of environmental literacy at Arlington Echo, and one of the founders of the WSA. First project here is, this is a bioretention area. It's not something that just about anybody can do, but it is something you can do functionally on your yard. All of my rain gutters on this whole front section of the house come into the pond, and the pond's a large sponge and it just soaks everything up. It's actually pretty sophisticated what's happening under the ground, but it does it. So this actually not only collects the water, it treats the water right here. And on an average year, it's about 37,000 gallons of water. When we talk about this being a bioretention system, to really understand that, it's not what's happening above the ground that you see, it's what's happening below the ground. I dug this out. I filled it with about 20 tons of sand, 20 tons of gravel, 100 bales of peat moss, and we made it this large sponge. So what happens is the water comes in, it gets absorbed in here, and then through the process of denitrification, it removes the nitrogen from that contaminated water coming off the rooftop and releases that nitrogen into the air harmlessly. I even have a rain barrel on here, and that rain barrel goes in, and it's just another simple way. Rain barrels are $50 to $100, and it's a simple thing that everybody can do, a way to slow it down, and it comes into the pond. And again, just another way of just controlling the velocity of the water in the area. Well, what I've calculated, my roof surface here, based on 1,000 square feet, creates about 642 gallons of water in a 1-inch storm. People can't imagine that. I mean, that fills up rain barrels, not just a rain barrel. And I mentioned this project handles calculating that, and based on our average rainfall, 37,000 gallons a year. So it's every drop counts, but right here, this small project does many, many drops of water. What's happening, particularly in the first flush, that's where most of the contaminants come down, out of the air, off the rooftop, and the nitrogen comes from there. Of course, then I'm controlling it for the velocity, so I'm controlling the sediments too that would run off in the erosion. But that first flush is what counts, and then people say, well, then a rain barrel can't do much, it's only 50 gallons. Capture that first flush, and then it's coming in, it empties over about 24 hours, and it leaves that trickling. That helps my gardens, because they like to be watered like that. But also what it does, it changes the area that it disperses the water from a fire hose coming down to now it's dispersing at least over 24 inches. And that in itself is just another control of the rain. We put these baskets in the top, and that basket is just a filter to help keep the debris from going in. Also keeps the mosquitoes out. And we won't have any mosquitoes in here. But if you were concerned about mosquitoes, all you have to do is put a tablespoon or two of household oil in there, and that'll form a surface on top of the water that will stay on top of the water and control your mosquitoes. The pond, mosquitoes, everybody says, well, I don't want a mosquito breeder. Well, this is not a mosquito breeder. This is a natural breeder of biodiversity. So we have all kinds of natural controls, and particularly dragonflies that come in here, and the dragonflies control the mosquito population. I don't have any mosquitoes here in the summer. The native plants that are in here, the idea is try to have as great a diversity as you can so that they always function some way. When it's dry, some plants function better. These native plants here survive in a wet area. The native plants, of course, feed our pollinators, and I'm loaded out here in the summertime with butterflies and bees and strange critters that I've never seen before, but I know they're native and they're looking for that native flower. So in our neighborhood, in the 70s, this was developed, and it was one of the few neighborhoods that didn't require curbing. And of course, the curbing in the roads, those conveyances channel the water. 30 years, things changed. We had a lot more hard surfaces, impervious surfaces come in, and all of a sudden, I had here every storm a rushing waterway. It turned into rapids during the storms, and it was washing everything out, and I could see it carrying the sediment. So my neighbor and I got together and we decided, let's slow it down, sink it in. She went by my advice where I talked about let's make some gradual step pools. Again, any homeowner can do this. You don't have to be an engineer, but this was engineering. I just let the water come down and I noticed where it was. I took pictures in rainstorms. My neighbors thought I was crazy, but besides that, it works. And we've had it here for about 4 years. And we contribute, the biggest benefits of this are to my neighbors downstream, because they used to have flooding in their yard, and now they don't have that anymore because I slow it down here. It's very functional and it works. Takes very little maintenance. I'll clean the leaves out and the debris that'll build up. But it's amazing to come out here in a storm. My neighbor and I, we did it together. So that's it, go together with your neighbor. And so it was a way of me not only extending the project, but I also convinced her to try to do something that was a little bit different in her yard than what was done in the past. And she's a believer now. And she's done more things on her home since we've done this project.